Giancarlo, you know obviously more about marine life and the ocean than I will ever know. But one of the things I really wanted to talk to you about was the synergy between some of the things that ocean builders are doing and some of the things that you do with Reef to Reef. One of the things, of course, I'm talking about primarily is the fact that with these pods that they're building. As I understand, they're going to basically help to recreate the reef, kind of system, and that's going to facilitate kind of a regeneration of that, underwater ecosystem. So I guess what I'm asking is if you can kind of tell me a little bit about what you do with Reef to Reef and sort of how there might be a synergy between what Ocean Builders is doing.
The fact of knowing what I know is because I have dedicated a lot of times to it. We're trying to connect people and experience so they gain knowledge and understand their surroundings better. Sure. So everybody can have the same knowledge if you dedicate enough time and intention to what you're doing. Towards how things connect in between the foundation and Ocean Builder, a lot. First of all, technology. To can make a rentable marine research operation, you need a lot of that. Yeah. So by sharing the technology, they are working on the connections with people that is developing technology. It's opening our eyes in how to automate processes and collection of that data, which is basic for the decisions that we then have to take. The structures themselves, I remember when I first had the approach with the company, my mind just went into imagination world because right now we're facing several problems worldwide, which are not just environmental, but include the society, because there's sea level rising, especially on places like Panama, where we have San Blas Islands, which is like history, culture, and a pillar of what we are as Panama nowadays. It's threatened to disappear because of that sea rise. Having solutions like this, in my head went straight ahead to San Blas. In other ways, came straight to where we are right now in the Marine Park in Portobello, because the road hasn't reached, fortunately, to these pristine places, but yet we have the need of having a station where we can monitor and protect those areas. By the studies that we've performed, you have deep waters very close to the shores that we want to protect that have dead zones in which we can create artificial reef to anchor these amazing floating houses that can be used not only for tourism but as monitoring stations of these remote areas. And by being energy independent, we can equip with all this technology in order to collect data from the water, from the soil, from the marine life that is surrounded, from the air, from everything that...
Yeah, so if I can interject really quickly, as somebody again who doesn't know a lot about this world, how do you do that? How do you collect the data from these?
Well, unfortunately, most of the questions that you ask me today will lead to the same resource, which is money. And then technology, I am talking about sensors. Okay. That can be either purchased that have already that purpose, or that can be like custom made for the research that we are conducting. But the main problem that you encounter when you are monitoring a remote area, it's constant data collection. And if you do so, you mostly have to go to that area and have a device that have enough power to can perform the job for a long time of period so that you can have a reference. Yeah. So by having these houses providing this power and being habitable, you can have people monitoring the computer that is 24/7 collecting the data, right, analyzing it, uploading it to a cloud and connecting in open source or kind of brilliant minds worldwide that can help us take the better decision.
It's like constant real-time data.
Yes.
Yeah, which is, I imagine that would be hugely helpful
Yes.
to have.
The other way it can be done is by having a ship that it's burning fuel and kind of contradictive, but needed because it's the only ways that we have developed nowadays. So I think
So something like what Ocean Builders is doing with the Seed Pod is pretty cool because it gives that unique opportunity to capture the data in a way that's much more clean or friendly, I guess.
yes, I would say so. There's a lot that need to be decided in order to make the right placing and so on. You know, it have to be the right place. It have to be safe. It have to be not invasive. But the technologies that so far have been put in papers and in practice towards powering these houses are sustainable, which is a big pro.
Yeah.
And the technology, and it's not just what actually the house is going to be, but everything around that developing this technology will bring. Let's say we have a huge 3D printer. 3D printing is a very, I always use this word that seems to stick to everybody. It's a very sexy way of creating a reef. I mean, there's other ways that you can do it.
Yeah, it's kind of blew my mind when I first heard about it, that you were literally able to do that. Like, we as humans are able to step in with our technology and say, hey, we're gonna help out, you know, the marine ecosystem.
Yes. I am surprised by the fact of people inclining towards this type of solution because the technology has always been there. We're always choosing the wrong way of using it.
That's very true.
But in this case, we're involved because that technology, it's being pointed towards developing something that brings more than revenue to the mix.
And I love that. So you're leading a group of scientists and university students from Panama and the Netherlands to collect data.
In the foundation, we discovered when we started to connect ourselves with the society, with the community, and the biologist community, that there was this like elitism, in which if you're not a biologist, you cannot be part of the solution because you're not qualified for it, when actually it's all the opposite. You can be the best biologist and you can hold the answer, but if you don't find the key of connecting the big masses towards that solution, you're gonna go to the grave with that solution in between your hands.
Yeah.
So what we are trying to do, and something that called our attention a lot from Ocean Builders, was the word or the phrase open source. Because we live through COVID right now, and we found out that it's not necessary that I drive 20 hours in order to go for a meeting.
Yeah.
That it's not necessary that you and I are in the same country in order to work towards a solution. So I think this is the good part of globalization, because we've met so far the not so good of globalization, which leave just consequences and not solution. So it is beautiful because we give opportunity to universities to have field experience. We give field for thesis student to develop that material and create papers that will help us understand, or anybody understand the field in which we're working. It gives us the opportunity to connect an environment with people and open a door for collaborations, not be just local, but global in the whole extent of the word, and give us the pleasure of working with other NGOs globally towards local solutions and testing their technology, which was developed somewhere else, in a different environment if it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think that's ultimately just a much more efficient way of doing things, right? You're allowing, first of all, not only people who are biologists, but people in different fields, engineers in different fields, even students, to contribute, and ultimately all kind of putting their heads together and making this thing a little bit stronger.
Yes.
Really cool.
Yes, and regarding what we're doing, with Ocean Builders is in the phase that we are right now, we are exploring, my favorite part, yeah? So we're finding places in which the existence of the pots can be an added value to the environment and the conditions. Apart from that, we're going into depths because here you have, at least in this area, you have a division in the shallow waters, the reef, in the medium water, and then you have channels which usually conduct currents and nutrients, but not actually have like a visible ecosystem.
Sure.
If you see it with your eyes, it looks like a mud or a dead zone, but yet in between the mud, it's so much that we have brought from down there and put it into fish tanks in order to see what larvae. And so far, we've proven that when you find like a sandy bottom, which we call like underwater deserts and so on, and then you place structures like the ones that we're trying to design together with Ocean Builders to make the anchoring, immediately there's life that claim it as a hiding ground, larvae deposit, or a juvenile protection area. So we're finding appropriate places by exploring the areas, determining areas that will be benefit by having these structures placed, and studying all the water conditions that surround them to determine if a coral restoration initiative proposed by the pots, it's doable, rentable, and sustainable. Sustainable in a way that people that go there can be part of the coral restoration. And developing these 3D printing structures so that we can accelerate the process, because if I place a rock, it will have some life, but if I already place the rock with holes in it and shapes that are attractive, it's like if I try to sell to you real estate without construction, or if I build a nice house in it. Yes, yes. So we're trying to make it attractive so that the development of that ecosystem, it's in a shorter time of period.
So tell me about Panacea and about these sea cucumbers. What is that about?
Almost everything that I will talk to you about have like a lot of people behind in order to be happening. In the Upper Coast, where we are right now, Puerto Lindo, there's amazing players. There's Ocean Builders, there's Panacea, Linton Bay Marina, Scuba Panama. There is foundations that are around. We have already an environment that is being affected by the uncontrolled collection of this specific case, sea cucumbers. We are not just developing a way of harvesting sustainably these sea cucumbers that we already put into the area, but understanding the reproductive cycle of them. At the same time, as a triple bottom company, connecting the data collection, the development of the hatchery in order to ensure the survival of these juveniles, because when they're young, let's say from larvae to 20 grams, they have very little window of survival because they're preyed by other marine life.
Sure.
So what we're doing is that we're ensuring that survival, then introducing them into the natural environment in which we have scientific data or theories that we're trying to prove, which is this is a bottom dweller. So we are creating a new type of aquaculture that is sustainable, a creature that you don't need to feed. It actually gonna feed from the problem that we have in the shallow waters, which is excess of nutrients and sediment. So we're cleaning while making it fat to then sell it to a market that is paying a high price, and the money is returning to pay salaries, to create research, and to repopulate the natural colonies that were already almost brought to extinction.
Wow.
So we are trying to prove that by introducing back these populations, the excess of nutrients and sediment that it's covering the coral, avoiding it from collecting the light and causing bleaching, death, and disappearance of very important marine ecosystems, can be corrected by introducing these creatures.
So just simply by enhancing the population or returning it to where it was, the sea cucumbers, we can actually, in effect, help the entire aquaculture, help the reefs, which help all the other life. And it sounds like you're saying it's something we can do without much cost and that will basically pay for itself. It's kind of clear to me, and even speaking with people like you, that everything is so interconnected. And so when you do something like mess with the reef or mess with the quality of the water, it's just everything else is a domino effect and not in a good way.
Yes.
So I love that people like yourself and Reef to Reef and Panacea are actually doing something to make sure that obviously industry can exist and development can exist, but that we can do it in a responsible way that's actually helping the ecosystem and the marine, the aquaculture, I guess.
Yes, which is one of our pillars too. Remember I mentioned the open source and the inclusion, because you and I can make a difference.
Yeah.
If we go outside and we place a rock every day, in 10 years, we can have a castle built outside. So yes, it does make a difference. And at the same time, we're testing worldwide coral restoration practices like coral trees, hanging lines. We want the local people to empower themselves on protecting, continuing these projects. And how are we doing this? Connecting with the tourism authorities, developing a line of sustainable tourism in which the locals can be trained to bring people to observe what we're doing under the water, hopefully one day to participate into the actual coral or active coral restoration. Mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah. So using the same harmony that exists in the healthy organisms that we're trying to protect in our system, it's been, I think, the key for connecting so many people.
Well, thank you so much, Giancarlo, for giving us all this information. I have so much information, but overwhelmingly, I think it's just nice to leave any discussion with a sense of optimism, and I think that's what you guys are doing. So thank you so much for that and for joining us today.
You're welcome, and thank you for taking the time and helping us spread the word, because this is another way of planting the seed of awareness, spreading the voice of what's right, what's going on, and connecting people.
Absolutely.